All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our very first Q&A for Ocean Drive Studios Lost Eidolons. My name is Pat. I'm the community manager and also the lead for social, and I'm joined here today by the creative director for Lost Eidolons, the brains behind the operation, the man behind everything, Jin Sang. And it's great to have you here today. What time is it over there right now?
It's 11:06 right now.
Yeah, so originally this stream was supposed to be about, I'd say, like 5 or 6 hours ago. But if we had done it then, it would have been a really difficult time for you to have been able to make it, right?
Yeah, it will be like 6 o'clock in the morning would be really hard.
Yeah, so we have to apologize to our European community members who the timing it's pretty rough for all y'all over there. However, that being said, we are recording this live stream as well. We're gonna highlight the VOD afterwards and also throw this up on YouTube so that anybody who missed it or wants to refer back to the VOD afterwards can do so at their own leisure after the fact. So to get things started, since this is our first stream, and for many of you guys who are watching, this is the first time that you guys are actually being introduced to us, I figured we should start by introducing ourselves. I'll go first, and then Jin Sang, you'll go afterwards, and we can just talk about who we are, what we do at Ocean Drive Studio, and our history a little bit. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I am community manager Pat. I handle everything related to, as you can imagine, community, as well as our social media accounts like Twitter and Facebook and Twitch and all of that. I came from Nexon, which is where a lot of people know me from, where I handled community for games like MapleStory and MapleStory 2 and Mabinogi. And MapleStory Mobile, basically everything MapleStory back then. And I've only joined the company fairly recently, but I'm already loving all the work that I'm doing here. The game project is super cool, and I'm really excited to get to show you guys more about that. So that's pretty much my summary for the most part. How about you?
All right. I'm Jin Sang, creative director from Ocean Drive Studio. I work for the Lost Eidolons, as you may all know. I've been working in the game industry since like 2001, ever since I graduated the college. And like Pat, I also worked at Nexon, in Korea. And I've been worked in different places as well. But anyway, so my last job at Nexon was creative director for the project called the Legend of Cao Cao, the Romance of Three Kingdoms, which is also SRPG, but mobile project.
Super popular over there.
Yeah, it was pretty super popular in Korea. So that's my last job, and as a creative director here at Ocean Drive Studio, I make decisions on like game designs and everything else for the Lost Eidolons.
Yeah, so pretty much whatever direction this project leads into, just like the one who's leading us there. And wow, 2001. That's 2 decades of experience in this project. I think at that time, God, that's when the first Ice Age movie came out. I think at that time I was actually just a little kid watching my uncle playing games like Final Fantasy Tactics on the PlayStation.
I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics as well at that time.
All right, so we have quite a few questions to cover. So format for today's live stream, we had a bunch of questions that a bunch of our community members asked on our Discord server leading up to today. So we're gonna tackle each of those questions one at a time, and then afterwards we will answer any questions that you guys might have about the project or the company, or just about us that you guys might have in the chat in an open forum. So why don't we get started with the first question. The first question is if the Nintendo Switch is one of the targeted consoles, and I figured a lot of people would be asking this question because obviously there's a lot of people who play similar games on the Nintendo Switch as well, and they definitely want to know that. And as far as consideration goes, we would like to see Lost Eidolons on the Switch. For now, we're focused on just getting the game out on PC and Xbox. But Jin Sang, why don't you talk about some of the what are some of the difficulties in getting the game on more platforms?
Okay. Actually, I love to get the Lost Eidolons in Switch platform, but the problem is that we are actually focusing on the PC version right now, and it's the graphics we are trying to target on is kind of hard to make it work on Switch platform. That's the most difficult one for us right now.
Yeah, I imagine there's always going to be a little bit more difficulty on getting a game on a handheld console. Now, the next question that we have is actually the next few questions are going to be stuff about some of the in-game related things. So here's the first question. It has to do with the mounts in the game. People saw in one of our recent combat blogs that we are working on an equestrian system where we can equip mounts to the units, and it seems to have both benefits as well as drawbacks for using a mount. And what was asked is if we would see other kinds of mounts other than horses, such as dragons or other fantastical creatures.
Okay, let me get to the straight to the answer. The answer is like no. But I mean, I wanted to get some like flying objects and others, but the settings we have for the game isn't like much a lot of fantasy in it. So we are going to have horses, right? And maybe different kind of horses, like different color and different like shape, but not like dragons or others like that.
Right. So Lost Eidolons, it's a bit more grounded than some of the more high fantasy stuff. We would actually classify Lost Eidolons as a low fantasy game, where it has elements that are fantasy in nature, such as magic and some mythical creatures. But we're gonna only have horses for mounts, and as just like I said, there might be other kinds of horses, but it keeps things a little bit more consistent and coherent among our systems if we just stick to that. Okay. So
all right.
For the next question, from which games do you guys take the most inspiration from in general, and not just from Lost Eidolons, but you've been working in this industry for 2 decades now. I'm sure you've been either working on a lot of games or you've seen a lot of games that have influenced your own work in that time.
Wow. I mean, I can't pick like a single game for this, but I really play a lot of games, like every day for right now. So let's see. I mean, I love the strategic RPG, so that's why I worked on my last job was on working on a Legend of Cao, which is SRPG, right? And for the SRPG, I love the Fire Emblem series as well. So I definitely say that I am, inspired by the Fire Emblem series. But I also play a lot of different kind of games like Legend of Zelda, the Mario series, the Uncharted series, The Last of Us. Let's say like.
You are a live streamer on this site. as I understand it. I actually heard from Jungsu that Jay, our CEO, had what was it, Jungsu? He had tricked you into live streaming, and then you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then now you're addicted to live streaming, and you've been playing a lot of games lately, right?
Yeah, that's right. Our CEO actually was my boss at when I was working for the Legend of Cao, right? And he actually wanted me, the creative director, to talk to people, talk to users, right? And like 10 or 20 years ago, it was like using the forums, right? The but for these days, we can actually use the live streaming to chat with the users directly, in real time. So that's something he wanted me to do. So I started streaming the official streaming like what we are doing right now, like 2 years ago, and I kind of like the idea of streaming. So I set up all those equipment here at my house, and I'm streaming like every day right now.
What are you playing right now?
Right now, I'm playing the Rise of Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I think I managed to catch one of your streams one morning. I was too shy to say anything because everyone was talking in Korean, and I didn't want to write an English message and
don't be shy.
But you
say anything.
you were playing Detroit Become Human. This was really recently, actually.
Okay, that was like the one before the two games before the one that I'm playing right now.
Yeah, it's really difficult for me to catch your live streams because when you're live and you're only live for a few hours a day, it's like 6 or 7 a.m. my time, which is like usually when I'm asleep. But then sometimes I'm streaming up until then there too.
Yeah, I've seen you streaming like when I start streaming like on weekend.
Okay.
So, oh, Pat is live, I talk to my viewers that our community manager is streaming.
We're all streamers at this company.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is, how many classes are there in Lost Eidolons? We did vaguely mention that there were over a dozen classes, but just an approximation, how many classes can people expect to be able to play as?
Okay, there are 2 basic classes to start with, and this is like something you just everyone is set to. And there's one class that is dedicated only to the main character, the Eden, and there's 18 other classes that anyone can
18.
change
Wow.
to.
That's more
So
than I remember.
in total, there will be like 21.
That's a lot. That's a lot of classes. And are certain classes always better than others? Like, are there like advanced classes and then there are like basic classes? So as you go through the game, are there certain classes that you won't use anymore?
Okay. There will be tiers. Like you said, there's a tier 1 and 2 and 3. So to get the tier 3 classes, you need to master the tier 2 or 1 classes. There are just some requirements.
And to master them, they have to use different kinds of weapons and armors and spells, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. That seems fairly straightforward enough. I'm really excited to actually. We should spotlight some of these classes actually, since there's so many to work with. I think some of them would be really cool to see. I think some of our viewers would love to see what some of them do that are unique from the others in future blogs, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question, and this also comes from Discord. All the questions that we're going through at the moment are from our Discord server. And again, after this section, we'll take any questions that you guys have from the chat. And the next question is if there will be LGBT plus characters. We have actually decided that for this title in the series, that there will not be LGBT plus representation, but Depending on how things go, and if if the game does well, and we get to work on another game within the series, maybe a sequel. I know that's a little ambitious to say right now. We'd love to discuss maybe incorporating that kind of representation into our game as well. So the question following that is if we could discuss what kind of stats there are. How does leveling work exactly? Do units gain a preset amount of stats when they level up, or is it random?
Okay. The leveling up would be same as almost any other like SRPG games. You just attack with your weapon or do kill the enemy units. Then you get the experience points, and when you reach certain experience points, you get to level up. So that's how you level up. And the stats. Okay, let's talk about the stats. Let me see. There's about 9. Let me see. 2, 4. Yeah, 9 different kind of stats, and we actually wanted to make it as simple as possible. So the strength would be like for physical attack, and the magic will be like a magical attack, right? And there's a defense and resistance, which is for the physical and magical defense. And there will be like dex, where it's for the guard and hit and critical hit rate. And there's agility, which is also for the not also, but for hit and critical hit and critical guard rate. And there will be luck stat, which is for critical hit and guard and critical guard rate. And the movement is for how many tiles you can move, and HP is for units HP.
Right. Okay, so we have a lot of SRPG or strategy RPG enthusiasts that are interested in the game. They've got their eyes on the game. They've played a lot of these types of games growing up, and even up until recently. One of the questions that we had separate to this one was if the damage formula was simple enough that the player would always know if they what kind of damage they would be doing before they take an action.
That's basically what we're gonna show you to in the better screen. We are going to show you like how much damage you're gonna get and you're gonna give. So you will pretty much know that how much damage you're gonna take and give.
Right. I saw in one of our recent milestone reviews, in one of the pictures that was shared, that pretty much everything is pretty well telegraphed to the player, even moving on the grid and seeing which enemies would target you if you move to a position, which actually gives a lot of control to the players and takes a lot of the randomness out of the situation. So players who can take advantage of the tactics and the AI and different maneuvers should be able to minimize any casualties and minimize any damage taken along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question that we had is how long is it?
There's a question that I haven't answered for the last one.
Yeah.
The stack growth was the he was asking if it's a randomly increasing, But okay, it's kind of okay. At the end, when you reach the maximum level, any same character will have the same stats, but while you're growing up, you could have different stats. Do you get it? Do you understand what I mean?
I think so. So with all characters, when any character reaches level 50, their stats will be the same as another level 50.
No. The same. I mean, if there's a character, right? The character A will have any character A will have the same maximum stats.
Got it. Okay.
But while you're leveling up, you may have a different.
Right. Okay. So there's differences, but then the characters are within
Final
a certain
result
category.
will be same for any same character.
Right. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is, how long is it expected to complete the game after it is fully released? So some information. When the game does release in early access, we are planning to have 16 of the episodes in the campaign available. and then by the time the game is fully released, there will be 27 full episodes. And these episodes, they have the out-game portion in the camp, and then the in-game portion with a major episodic battle. And I believe this question is rather important for people to answer, because for someone to invest in a game, however much the price tag may be, they want to know how much gameplay they will be getting out of it. So after we have 27 episodes, how long do you think it'll take for the average player to complete the game?
Okay, for me, I am estimating that one episode will take on about like average. On average, it will be like 1 hour. So you could say that there will be like 27 hours, right? But then there is also the out game like battles as well. So it will be around like 30 to 40 hours.
That's a good amount. And we have a follow-up question to this. It's very much so related to it. But there are people that are wondering if there will be any replayability or any contents that offer replayability, such as some sort of content that maybe progressively just gets harder or harder as time goes on. Is there any planned content, whether in the base game or planned in the future, that could fulfill that?
Okay, for the I plan to make there some mini games, mini battles, not like the episode battles, but that could be something for the replayability. But I haven't really thought about the like the one you talked about, like the battle gets harder and harder. So there will be one like simple, like not that simple, but fun mini games, and there will be some unlockable like challenge mode where like we are doing the Kickstarter, the permadeath mode,
right.
Mode. Yeah.
This is actually a question from me that I'm curious of. But is there a possibility that there are any out-game side battles that would be more difficult than the final boss?
Oh, I kind of love to, but I haven't really planned on it.
I love it when games do those like super bosses and that kind of stuff.
After the final boss, right?
Yeah.
We could think about it, but not yet planned.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay, so the next question, it has to do with the actual battle scenarios themselves, but whenever you do a battle, is there any randomness to how the battle is set up in the beginning? Like, is there any randomness to the units that you'll fight, or the placement in the beginning of the match?
Before this question, I never thought about it, actually. So, yeah. So right now the episode battles will be the same, I think, but it could be different for the different mode. But basically, we're gonna have the same situations, right? Because it's all related to the story. So but then for the side battles, we could kind of apply those rules, like different settings and different units. Yeah.
Right, and the units in this game, they're not limited to just humanoid monsters, humanoid enemies, right? We might see things like monsters and whatnot, right? I think that really
there will be some monsters.
Yeah, and I think that really shows off some of the fantasy parts of it. Okay. We had one more question from the Discord, and that question had to do with difficulty planning in Lost Eidolons, because it should be made aware already from people who haven't been following the project lately that we are planning on doing a Kickstarter campaign for Lost Eidolons. In fact, not only is the page available to Bookmark now, but we're also on Steam already. We have our own Steam page where you can wishlist the game. Both you can find in the panels below. There's a Kickstarter button and a Steam button if you want to check those out. And in the Kickstarter, we actually had some stretch goals, and we also had to reiterate something as well that we had written in our previous blog, in that this Kickstarter is not actually to fund Lost Eidolons. Lost Eidolons is actually already fully funded, and we don't need the money from Kickstarter in order to make the base game. And instead, what we're using Kickstarter for, it's twofold. The first thing is for just general marketing and exposure, because not many people know about us still. We're still really new in the space, and not many people know about Lost Eidolons still. That game is also fairly new in the space and a little niche as well. So we wanted to use Kickstarter as a way to get ourselves out there. And so because of that, since we don't need Kickstarter to actually fund the project, we set the funding goal relatively low for this kind of project, and we're aiming for stretch goals. And with those stretch goals, those can fund additional features for the game, and even when just achieving the funding goal, will unlock things like permadeath, which is usually something that many tactical RPG fans are hoping from a game, so that they can have much more weight to their decisions when they're playing it. And other stretch goals include Hell mode, which is an enhanced difficulty mode, which leads us to that last question on Discord. What do you think would be a great way to handle additional difficulty in Lost Eidolons?
Okay. We actually talked about this with my battle designer. The easiest way is to just increase the level, right? That's the easiest way. You just increase the level, the stack gets harder, so it's hard to beat. But then that's not fun. Right. I don't think it's fun. But so what we talked about was that we had a lot of different skills and passive skills that we actually do not want to give it to users. I mean, not give it to users, but think it's kind of too good. So if it's too good, then you're gonna stick to the character, right? The same character over and over. So we want to give more like diversity to characters. So we do that's something I learned from my last project. So if the skills are too good, then you get to use just one character all the time. So that's something we don't want to. But those skills could be good use for the enemy units. So we're gonna apply those skills, different skills, that is going to be used for the characters, the enemy characters, so that you're gonna have it's basically you're gonna have different AI.
That is
because it's gonna use different skills.
That's such a good way to do it. Have you heard of a game on Steam called Loop Hero by any chance?
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah. It's an idle game, and they actually use a very similar principle where the first time you play around it a few times, the enemies, they don't have that many skills, but then when you play on it in subsequent rounds, they get additional skills, and the enemies that were so easy before now are more threatening. I think that is actually one of the best ways to handle difficulty, because it's very different, rather than just stat bloat and just making higher HP or higher damage or anything like that. So
I mean, I can't just say that we're not gonna use the leveling up scheme, but we're gonna mix those, so that like in hard mode, you guys are gonna have the users will have those all those end game skills, right? So you're gonna be able to customize all the skills as you wish, right? So to make your own taste of characters. So what we're gonna do the enemies is the same for like what you guys do with your characters. So we're gonna design the enemies with the different skill sets, so that it's going to be like a different and difficult.
Right. That's really cool. And we can tie this in with the third stretch goal, which we revealed as well, which is called debug menu. And people who have played games like Hades or Kingdom Hearts might be familiar with this concept, but the idea is to give players a special menu with these different modifiers to the game that they can activate optionally as they want. And with that, the players can fine-tune the difficulty in certain aspects to the exact scheme that they want. So it gives people who really want that ultimate tactical experience to make the game as difficult or as easy as they want. And that was set for a 200k stretch goal. That's the highest stretch goal that we had placed, and we're hoping that people are interested in reaching that. Similar concept, yes, Avenger.
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually covers pretty much all the questions that we got from Discord users, and I want to make something clear. We will be doing more of these live streams in the future, and for that, to that end, if you ever want a question answered, we have a channel on our Discord server called Town Hall. And in Town Hall, we will generally ask that players ask questions that they want answered during the live stream, and these are questions that basically will be guaranteed that we can answer during the time during our live streams. So if you definitely want your questions about the game answered in the future, as we have more of these, make sure to join our Discord server and keep an eye out for that. And so now we took a lot of time to answer those questions, but we made time for this live. If you guys have any questions at all, whether it be about if it's about the game or the or us or the company, please feel free to ask that now. I just saw one of the questions pop up on the stream just now, if the game will be on the Game Pass, the Xbox Game Pass, and we are planning to, like, we'd like to see it on the Game Pass and potentially other subscription services as well. As people already know, we're already planning on having the game on Xbox, so it is a goal of ours to also see the game on the Game Pass. I would love to have a co-op. I love to play Divinity, the original sin, with my friends. Jin Sang, what do you think about multiplayer aspects in Lost Eidolons?
Okay. Right now, we don't have any plan yet, but okay. My ultimate goal is to make the multiplayer, aspect of this Lost Eidolons. Like what I liked about the last job that I had before at Nexon was Legend of Cao Cao, right? And we had the PvP mode where you have the multiplayer, like you compete with the other player real time. So and that was really fun experience for me, and as a gameplay and the game design wise. So I really hope to have a chance to implement those.
It would be great, and if our project sees great success, maybe it's something that we can revisit later down the line.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question: gameplay videos show both third person and tactical view. Are those fixed, or can you move between them at will? I think this question has to do with the out game where you travel around the camp, or perhaps it has to do with little cutscenes that play whenever you take an action, right?
Yeah. So during the battle, you're gonna have a tactical view, and when you're done with the battle, you're gonna go to the somewhere called camp. We're gonna call it camp. And at camp, you can move around the your characters and talk to others.
So during the actual battle part, there's not that much third person POV. It's just whenever you take an action, it'll play some sort of animation, and it'll give a stronger impression of a bigger battle taking place, rather than constantly just looking at the grid. Okay, the next question. For the class system in the game, are you able to inherit skills to use from other classes, or is there a form of a subclass system? So is there customization where you can pick and choose different aspects of different classes?
That's right. there won't be any inheritance, but if you master the skills, there are some set of skills that you can freely customize. So you can customize any skills you want to.
Could you give an example of how this would work exactly?
Okay, so when you have a archer, right? Let's say you're archer and you're gonna have an archery skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you master the archer class, you're gonna have archery skill, and then once you move into the another class, you can put your archery skill into the other character.
So you could be like
five skills you can customize.
Right, so it's like a case where, let's say you want to move to a knight class, you can take some of those archer skills with you.
Yeah, that's right.
But they still have weapon requirements in some cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There may be.
Okay, next question. It is, are there action points? Is it your team goes and theirs? Is there initiative? So is there a limit to how many actions you can take in a given turn? And for the turn order, is it based on some initiative stat, or does everyone go at once for one side and then everyone goes at once for another side?
Everyone goes, move in your turn, and the enemy moves in enemy turns. That's how the basic battle rule is.
Right. So there's no speed stat or anything like that. And for actions, how many actions can someone take in a given turn?
Just one action.
Okay, so you need to be careful with your choice, but you get to command all your units all at once, right?
Yeah, but mounting to the horses won't be any, it won't require it. It won't be just the action. Is the by action I mean the attacking.
Okay.
And
okay.
moving.
So there's certain like sort of actions that don't take up the action.
Yeah, that's right.
If someone messes up, can they undo their command?
Okay, we're gonna have some method to undo the undo and you probably you can probably go back to the previous turns as well.
Okay. So the next question is, will there be any post-game content? So once you complete the story, is there anything after the story? Like maybe any side stories that become available after you finish the final chapter?
Right now, what I have in mind was the one that I talked about, the mini games.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one basically I'm thinking of, and I mean like I said, there I love to implement the multiplayer aspect of the game. So if the game goes well, maybe we could try it, but it isn't really planned right now.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider. We already have a lot on our plate, but yeah, it would be great if we could. Okay, so the next question is there armor and health stats, elemental effects, and magic? I feel like this question comes from someone who probably plays some Fire Emblem, where the concept of armor isn't really there. Our game, does it have armor?
The armor. Okay, we do have armor to wear. But then this one is for stat, right?
Yeah, does it provide stats to wear this armor?
Oh, okay. The armor will provide the stats. Yeah.
And regarding magic, what is the influence of different schools of magic between elemental, dark, and light?
There will be some elemental, right? The magic where you're gonna have the fire and the lightning and the blizzard, the ice magic, such as such, right? So when you're on the tile of the like a water or anything else, it'll be like, okay, when you use the lightning magic, it will do the more damage. And when you are in a bush or trees, and if you use the fire magic on it, that will be the tile will be with the fire.
Right.
And then when it's with the fire, you will have the the damage over time. I mean over turn.
Right. So we discussed this in our previous combat blog, actually, how different elements from the elemental school of magic. This is all from the elemental magic, right? It's not the light and dark magic that does terrain effects.
Yeah.
So we did go over that. Please check out that blog, and you'll get all the details on the terrain related stuff. But related to that, we did cover everything in that blog. Is there possibility to add more interactions with elemental magic and terrain in the future, or is the fire, ice, and poison and wind pretty much what we're sticking with for now?
Yeah, we are sticking with it with those right now. Yeah.
Okay, and I just saw in the chat, because this is related to the question that they just asked, but would some enemies have an elemental weakness or strength? Would they be resilient to certain elements?
No, I don't think so. I think the enemies with the armor, right? There will be some the whatever the enemies wearing the armor, it will have a weakness against certain type of the weapon. So that's
it's the rock paper scissors thing, where certain weapons are good against certain arms. But in the case of magic, all magic is effective in the same way against enemies. It's just what the magic does and how it affects the terrain, right? Okay. All right, next question. Let's see. I hope you have things like Blue Mage's skills learned from monsters, craft systems. Is there a crafting system in the game?
Crafting. Okay. Not for now. We hope to implement this if we get to we actually plan to make another story for the Eden's Rival, right? So the Eden's story will have a 27 episode, and the Eden's Rival is Ballasta's, and Ballasta's story will have that much. So if we get to work on the Ballasta story, maybe we can think about the crafting system.
I think this is kind of funny to bring up because you just mentioned Eden's rival Ballastar. I'm sure there's a lot of people who looked at the trailers for this game and then saw that guy with the beard, and he was like, "Oh, that's the main character." But in reality, that character in the trailers is actually a different character. He's not actually Eden. And I think people will enjoy learning the significance of the character that's seen in the trailer and how he impacts the story as we go on. Okay. Next question. Let's see. If permadeath is unlocked, will that impact the story at all? How would permadeath affect the story if a side character dies or if the main character dies?
Okay. This is something like we debate a lot. So when if we going to have a permadeath, it will be like more or less like you are not allowed to join the battle. It's not like you're dead. Because like certain characters will be used in the story later, or sooner or later, right? Any point we can use. But because of the if permadeath mode, if he's or she's dead, the story will be something weird.
Yeah, that's true.
We have to think about those. And so what we did was what we are trying to do is to make the unit not join the battle. That's all.
So they're like in the infirmary. They're recovering or something like that. Is there any risk of game over at all from this?
No, not at all.
Okay.
If it's a game over, you just start over. That's it.
Okay, and if all the characters die, then if all the characters die and you're left with one unit and you have to go into a battle, will you only have one unit available in this permadeath mode?
Never thought about it, but I think so.
That'd be a really bad situation
But then,
to be in.
let me tell you, there will be you can gain a lot of characters. So there will be like 20 up to like 30 characters. I think I'm not sure the exact numbers, but yeah, you will have a lot of characters.
Okay. So the next question that just appeared on the screen was, I love a game with a story behind it. So how is the story's impact in Lost Eidolons? Lost Eidolons, much like many other strategy RPGs, the story is a really, really big point of it. And the story for Lost Eidolons, it draws inspiration from a few places, right? What were you imagining when you were thinking of the story direction for the game? What were you hoping was the core theme of it?
It's hard. Okay, my my core theme was that there's a guy who was like once had nothing, like really he was just common guy, right? And then he get into the troubles or those troubles by accident, and
Well,
he
by the
gets
way,
to
but before you keep going, no spoilers on the story, okay? Just
oh, that's right.
yeah. Be vague about your answer. they
That's
have to
right.
find the story on their own.
This is why I said it's hard.
That's fair. Gave you a tough one.
It's something that the character grows up and he it's more or less what we are living, right? Like it's just the growth of the character. That's the main.
So a big part of this game's story has to do with I guess maturity of the characters and how they develop given the situations that are thrown at them, as well as the relationships between the characters as we move through the campaign. Okay. The next question, we could probably only fit in a few more questions for this session. Are there experience points related to raising your skills? Can skills level up? Can your proficiencies level up?
Okay. The skills itself one level up, actually. But there will be some mastery where you're gonna have where you can get the skills. So it's kind of okay. If just to say the answer, it would be no.
Okay. So the skills don't really level up. There is mastery, and then there's the proficiencies, which is related to your weapons and armors, and those do level up so that you can unlock new classes and skills, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next question. Is it more RPG or is it more strategy? Are there impactful choices in the dialogue, character, or more in the strategic elements? Let's. I'm trying to read again. Or is it balanced between the two?
Just to say, the answer will be more strategic, but there will be some choices that you have to make. In story wise, so there will be we've been planning to work on a multi-ending. It's not going to be like, not so sure I should say good or bad, but there will be two different endings, and depending on the choices you make, there will be like certain, like not many but couple of choices you have to make, and that will make a different endings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we also
you also have to make choices on recruiting the characters. So you can't just recruit all the characters. So you will have to make some choices.
That's more information than we actually provided. We've never actually mentioned that there was the potential for multiple endings. So that's pretty cool for people who like that kind of thing. Though at the same time, I think people should also temper their expectations. It's not a heavy RPG element where you have large sweeping decisions that can drastically affect the outcome of important events throughout the story. So it is mostly an on-rails story experience, and we're doing our best to create a very custom tailored story experience throughout it. Okay. So the next question is, are there any combined actions where a character might perform one thing and then another character can follow up on that? We actually somewhat did. We didn't really. It's somewhat related, but the concept of the elemental magic was kind of there, where you could maybe ignite terrain on fire, and then maybe you could have a different unit throw poison at that fire and then cause an explosion. So there is some semblance of that. But what we can ask related to this question is contextual actions. So special actions that only take place in certain events. So for example, in one of the trailers, we saw a scene where Ballister was pointing at a castle gate, and then a bunch of soldiers were pushing a battering ram into the gates. Are there a lot of actions like that, and will they be able to affect how you fight enemies?
Besides the gate, not many.
So they're very special events when they happen, pretty much.
Yeah, the one that you saw is the actually skill. So not the skill, but when you reach the gate, the like it's like we can't just say go to the gate and do the swing the sword, right? So we made a special
You can just knock politely on the gate.
Animation where we do the using the what should I call the unit?
The battering ram.
Yeah. So that's something just special for the gate event.
Okay. And another system related to this, which we only very vaguely covered in one of the recent blogs, and it's related to J. Carl's question, is synergy effects. We did mention that there would be a way for your units to work together to combat enemies, and how important is it that players take advantage of this system once it becomes available?
The synergy, you mean the
joint attack?
The joint when you're near the tile, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't mean to put a lot of weight on it. So it'll be good to have a unit around you, but it won't be that bad if not.
Right. So it's just a tool it's just another tool that players can take advantage of to make some strategized battles a little bit easier potentially. Right. Okay. Next question. We have time for maybe two or three more. And as a heads up, if you didn't get your question answered this time, don't worry. We will be having at least one stream a month moving forward. At least.
Really?
Yes. I didn't tell you this.
Kidding.
This is a surprise that I'm springing on you. It's okay. If I can't get you, I'll find someone to drag into the stream. Maybe I can get Jungsu or something.
That's good. Yeah. Let's have Jungsu in the stream.
What was the latest question? We actually have Jungsu curating the questions. He's the one who's putting up the questions on the screen right now. If you could put up that question again on the screen so we know what the next question we're answering is. I'm trying to scroll through the chat at the same time.
Yeah, I'm doing that too.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions, and we're not going to be able to answer them all. We're already nearing an hour, so we have to wrap things up shortly. If a certain strategy becomes too popular or too powerful, will it be nerfed?
Maybe, depending on the situation, I think. I mean, yeah.
I grew up playing Final Fantasy Tactics like many others, and there were so many overpowered strategies you can do that in there, like using math, for example, and I think having overpowered strategies and creating overpowered strategies and discovering them is part of the fun. And as it's a single player game, it's part of what makes the experience your own. It's part of how you tailor your own experience with the game if you want to use overpowered strategies you can use them, but of course within reason. I mean, if there's something that's letting you literally one-shot enemies from the very beginning, obviously that's probably more akin to a bug than a strategy, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like using the overpower won't be that much problem for me, but the if it's not something that we designed to, like if there's just some mistake that we did, then that could be fixed.
Right. Okay, we've got one more question. Again, I apologize if we didn't get to answer all your questions. Sorry, late for the stream. Maybe you guys already answered this at this time. Are you guys planning to provide mod support for Lost Eidolons? So Steam Workshop, or allowing players to like make their own custom units or their own custom scenarios?
Okay, for me, I mean, I love to actually. My original plan was to support the mod system, but then like for right now, we do not have enough resources to do that. So I mean, although I really love to support the mod system, but we are right now we are just focusing on just complete the development of the actual gameplay first. So maybe if we can have enough resources and times.
What if we have an amazing Kickstarter? What if we raise like $1 million?
That's right. Then I can talk to my boss.
Yeah, we can talk to Jay. Be like,
Jay,
let us do it.
We need it. This is the voice of users.
Yeah, this is what the people want. Give the people what they want.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So we stayed much longer than what we expected. We thought the stream was only going to be half an hour, but you guys came through and you guys asked a lot of questions, and we're super grateful for that. We can actually answer questions on Discord too. So if you guys want to ask questions there, we might be able to answer some of the questions there. But also, you could always save questions, whether you think of them now or later for the next stream, the next time we do this. So to wrap things up, first of all, as a reminder, the game is available to wishlist on Steam already. The Steam button is below the channel, and the game is also in its pre-launch phase on Kickstarter. We are really hoping for a stellar campaign for Kickstarter. We've tempered our expectations, and we really want to make these stretch goals happen. The actual campaign will start on April 21st. That is next Wednesday, and it'll run for 30 days. So please, if you have friends that are interested in the tactical RPG genre, do share the word. It also helps us out big time if you follow us on our socials and help us reach stretch goals. We have a bunch of social goals that we have created as well. And the social goals, these are an ongoing thing that will last all the way through to the launch of the game in 2022. So there's no deadline on these social goals. We're just trying our best to build a community as a new game studio, because we're working on many great projects, and we want to work on many great games that people can recommend to their friends, that people can genuinely enjoy. The Kickstarter, of course, it'll offer a lot of the things that you can expect from a Kickstarter, including getting early copies of the game, and they'll be digital. We're not doing physical. Discounted versions of the game, as well as some options to like maybe leave a message for players in game, or naming an NPC, or giving them some dialogue. There's some cool stuff in there for people who want to be a part of the game's history and the part of the game's legacy. Is there anything that you would like to say to the budding community that we've managed to get together so far? Any closing words?
Okay. Okay. This is actually my first stream ever since my last game, and 2 users. So thank you for coming to watch this. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this regularly. Like Pat said, we're gonna do like a monthly. We love to do it. We love to talk to you guys and have our game, develop, while we go through this. So yeah, just keep coming and spread the words. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We're a group of people that have worked in live service games. We're no longer in the business of live service. We're making tailored single player experiences, but we do want to take what we've learned from the past and incorporate that into the future. And part of that means that we have a very open development workflow with our community, and we involve our community. We have our vision for what we want Lost Eidolons to be, but we also trust that players know what they want as well. And we hope that people continue to give us feedback, constructive criticisms, not just praise, but also telling us what we're doing wrong so that we know how to improve it moving forward. And yeah, so we really hope that you guys join us along this ride, because it's going to be a long journey to making this game, the game that we want it to be. So thank you guys very much for joining us today. Remember, our socials are in the panels below. Save the date for our Kickstarter, and check out our website regularly for news. We have a lot of cool news, and we've been working with an amazingly talented composer, and the game's gonna have an amazing soundtrack. I love games with awesome soundtracks, and I'm telling you guys, this one's gonna be out of the park. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a good evening or a good day, wherever you may be, and we'll talk to you guys on our socials. See ya.
All right, see you.